Welcome to LegacyCast, your source for hearing from top influencers, industry experts, and successful business owners who are telling their unique story about life, values, goals, business strategies, and the various causes they are so passionate about. Future generations will come to be impacted by what is happening today, whether positive or negative, and our mission is to focus on what is going to affect change for the better. Hosted each weekday by James Snow, a former U.S. Army combat medic, now founder and principal advisor of James Advisors Group, a full-service financial planning firm in North Texas. This is LegacyCast. Welcome, LegacyCast listeners and viewers today. I would like to welcome you to our special edition here for New Year's Eve. Now, I've got Bryan Jacobs as a guest with us today. And so, before getting into a lot of the tradition and so forth, welcome to the program. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me? I'm sorry. Hey, I'm getting a little feedback, so it's not as clear as I like it. But no, thank you so much for having me. We're excited about the new year. So many great things happening on this side of the world, as I say. And we hope to ring it in the way we should, with a bang.
Yeah, absolutely. And here at LegacyCast, I like to tell people, what we refer to as a legacy can mean a whole bunch of different things for a bunch of different people. It can be educational or societal. What you're doing financially within business, charities. But when you're thinking about legacy, what does that mean to you personally?
Well, legacy took a whole new meaning to me. It changed. I actually never really understood what legacy meant, and I think legacy comes along with maturity. Because when you're young and you're dumb and you're out there chasing life and women and whatever else is going on, you don't really think about legacy. And then sometimes you have these traumatic events happen in your life. And yes, going to combat and going to war is very traumatic. But my traumatic event came from losing someone very close to me. And it changed the way I viewed legacy. Not only did I lose, somebody extremely close to that, I lost multiple people. I lost a younger brother to veteran suicide. I lost my mom a year after that. And these people were a part of creating who I've become. And it's kind of embedded in me to create a legacy of their lives now and to show forth that we can make a difference on several different fronts. And so legacy has changed completely to not just, I want people to remember me as, I'm a good guy and, people like me. No, I want to be known as a change maker. I want to be known as somebody who said, here's a problem that we can fix together. And as a community and as a society, we can create the impact that's necessary to not have to feel what my family went through or what I went through. So legacy is huge, and I talk about it all the time.
Yeah, and that's something that is very common with a lot of people. That some event perhaps creates some change in their life. Do you feel like your views on legacy also affect what you do in business?
I think, the thing it is that in business, the Simon Sinek said, hey, start with why. And he's got a new book says you do it with coffee, or, all you need is coffee. But it's funny is that we have a very strong why of why.
Oh, there we go.
You can't hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
All right. So, we have a very strong why of why we exist. And I think that's very important in business these days is that, legacy and why go together hand in hand. If you don't have a good why, you're not going to create a legacy. And that's the thing is that because you're not really in it for the right reasons. You're not in it to change lives. You're not in it to make a difference. You're in it for yourself. And to me, that's the biggest fail you can have in business if you're not doing it for the right reasons. A lot of people, I ask people all the time when I sit on these forums, they're like, I want to start a business. And I'm like, why? I ask, oh, because I want to, do this and do that. And, I want to make money. And I'm like, okay. And every every answer is typically the same. And I said, well, and finally someone goes, so why are you in business? I said, because I want to change lives.
Sure.
And with all these things comes all these other things. You will make money, you will have success if you do it for the right why, which creates the legacy.
That's true. And some good points that you make there. Do you feel like it's important that everyone actively consider what they're doing to impact their own legacy? Making intentional decisions and deliberate ones?
Well, it's funny is that we live in a world where your every little move is tracked, seen, talked about. I mean, we talk about social media. Social media is good and bad at the same time. You can be in the limelight of something good, or you can be in the limelight of something bad. The way you carry yourself every day is a direct reflection of how people perceive you. A lot of leadership lessons I've had to learn on the outside is that you are what people choose to follow, not what they have to follow. And so you have to set a level of I can't even say just perfection. And it's, you're not going to be perfect because you're learning, but the same time though is that you could always adhere to the highest integrity of what you're doing. And people are going to follow you because they see the truth in who you are. And you're going to kind of exude this type of powerful message without having to say a word. Some of the strongest leaders I've ever met in this world say nothing until the very end of a conversation, yet they're the ones that are respected the most. And so I really think that type of attitude is, do as you say as you do, which is what we've tried to practice, really changes the way people's perceptions are put upon you. Because let's face it, we all are books that are being viewed without being read first. And the cover that they see is whether or not it seems interesting.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned that it's good or bad. That's something I mentioned to a lot of people, is that regardless of what you're doing, you are creating legacy. And so spend your time making it a good one. Exactly. Because you can definitely make wrong choices, and people are watching, and you're taking on people through your behaviors, through how you react to things,
everything.
It's just it's so impactful on so many levels, and especially for those that have children. I mean, goodness.
Oh my goodness.
Then they're a sponge. Yeah. And so you have to watch everything.
No, it's funny is that there's so many books, and you can read it on any entrepreneur forum. They say, a lot of people, to me, this is special going into a new year. And I advise people to start to, a lot of people, when they go into a year, they're like, oh, let me lose weight, or let me, I don't know, learn a new language, or let me, I'm going to buy a house, or I'm going to get my relationship, I tell people to work on your inner person, your inner relationship, and that you start to attract the right people in your life. Because what people do is that we, just like our jobs that we don't like, right? We go to work, some people go to work and they complain about what they do. Yet there's no goals in place to change the people they're around. If you want to be different where you're at in your life, you have to change where you're going to go. So you have to start to put yourself with the people that are where you want to be. So one of my big goals in 2019 is to put myself around 5 CEOs that I want to partner with, that I want to be a part of their organizations, and I want to bring something to their table. And in turn, it's going to build my network, my rapport, my company, my organization, and it's going to put us on a new level. So I'm making change. And that's the thing, is a lot of people want change, but they don't want to work for the change. And typically a lot of people, and I hate to say this, and I've had this happen, unfortunately, I've had to take friends and put friends in new perspective. And okay, cool. Well, we're still great and all, but maybe our relationship wasn't what I thought it was. Right. Because you truly don't want to see me succeed. You would like seeing me happy, but my success actually doesn't make you happy. And that's a big issue, is that we are surrounded by people who are jealous of who we are and what we're trying to accomplish. And they'll tell you it's too much. You're going too big, or wow, you think crazy. Good. Think all those things. Because guess what? All these people who run all these companies, they thought crazy too.
Very true. It's interesting how our truest friends, they reveal themselves from the bottom, not the top. All the people that are with us at the very top of our game, they're not necessarily our friends. They're just people that are maybe asking for something.
And they've come through at a most opportune time for them. And as I tell people, there's people watching and waiting right now, because people don't want it. There's different levels of work, right? There's the ground level, there's the foundation, of course. There's that buffer zone where you're starting to pick up some momentum, and then there's this giant snowball. What I tell people is that the people who have been on the foundation and been building and hammering away with you, those are the people who you need to make sure are in the snowball, because they're going to protect you once the snowball starts moving. Because everybody's trying to jump on the snowball right now. They're trying to get in. And they're trying to be part of this momentum. So it's you really have to be mindful in a way of who you surround yourself with.
I totally agree. I have to.
No worries.
So back to my question list before the phone interrupted my thinking. As a CEO, what would be maybe a couple things that are still keeping you up at night? I know you're doing a lot of things with the different levels, different angles to your business. So there are a couple things that still are kind of creeping in the back of your mind as you're sleeping.
There's always things. My mind doesn't shut off. Actually, a lot of people go, do you sleep? And I say, I want to say I sleep, but at the same time, it's these things that we're in a world of opportunity, and we're in a world of viral videos, and we're a world of impact, and we're able to make changes in people's lives just like this. I mean, it's mind-numbing how fast we can go from zero to hero in one viral video, or we're willing to give to a cause, we're willing to take stands, and I look at just like our current situation in the presidency, and I'm not a political person. I don't talk politics, and I don't talk religion. I learned that in the Southern boy world. It's two things you don't do. But I with what we do, and knowing that the epidemics that we face is that there's a lot of people out there with great ideas, but they're not taking action because they don't feel like their idea is going to matter. What upsets me is when I do hear people with great ideas, but they don't. They just want it to happen. And I think that, and it's stated by the government, by the VA, we'll talk about veteran homelessness. Veteran homelessness is not going to end unless the community gets involved. When I say community, I'm talking about county level. I'm talking about church. I'm talking about state coming together. I'm talking about all these other fundamental pieces of the puzzle. And the thing it just takes one great community activist who goes, what, I've had enough, and starts to try to unite these pieces. And that's, what gets me upset is we all want to see change, but there's little proactivity towards change. But there's a lot of stand up towards things that, no disrespect, don't necessarily matter. And that your views of what that is going to change. Unfortunately, homelessness in this country is ridiculous. We are a great nation when we should be setting an example. And that we should be focusing on what we're doing right now is with the trade industry, which is a huge deal that's coming back, which is amazing because this country has to be rebuilt from the inside out. And our trade industry is what, built us, infrastructure. And, this is why we have a shortage of chefs. We have a shortage of nurses. We have a shortage of all these people in day-to-day avenues that make life happen. And we have to start to unite and create these opportunities for these people who we see as second nature. It's funny as I get really upset. I go to a lot of meetings, and I go out with friends, and when I walk by a homeless person, I greet them. I humanize them. I say,
Right.
hello, how was your day? Just because they're homeless doesn't mean they're having a bad day. Just because they're homeless doesn't mean that they're not human. And I go out to these things and I see people who are dehumanizing people. They don't make eye contact. They don't speak to them. They don't greet them. And I'm like, what world are we living in when we forgot to say hello? Because that hello may change that life where they go, oh my God, someone sees me. Maybe I'm not invisible. Maybe I do have a place in this world. And, it's things like that, getting back to home values, getting back to, the yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, treat others as they should be treated. I mean, all these things that are, what you should be learning in the home are what makes this world better. And I feel like if we had a fundamental attitude of treating each other as we would like to be treated and home values, we would see a change.
Yeah, it's totally spot on. And I like how you mentioned, talking to homeless people, because you're absolutely right. That one touch could be something that really changes, their perspective, and it changes their outlook. And that kind of a great moment for them could be the thing that spurs them on to some great action.
And here's the thing: you don't know who you're speaking to, and I was homeless, and I went through this, and I felt this just I can't even put it into words. Just I don't know, you didn't matter, and it was just like at one point in time, I try to remind people that the people that we speak to, they don't realize that was someone's daughter and son at one time. Mm-hmm. That was somebody's baby, that little girl. That was someone's best friend. It's one of these pieces that I truly think that if we started to do that, we would see or have that respect for that level of humanization. We would change the way we looked and treated people. I'm not saying go out and give them money, but give them opportunity to feel like they matter.
Yeah, you're very right. And we have a guest that had a comment on what
I see that
about there. In fact, Norman is going into the hospitality industry and the restaurant side of things.
Great.
So he's interested in what you have to say here.
Well, it's funny is I could chime in right on this. And here's the thing, and I could speak about this for days, weeks, months, years. It's great. You're spot on, Norman, about hospitality turnover. Here's the issue: is that we are one of the last industries that has decided that it matters. The people that we have within the kitchens and the industry, it matters. These people, when I lived overseas in Europe, these were professions. Everything was on salary. Everything was etiquette. Everything was high-end based training. What we've done is that we've taken away the professionalism out of the hospitality industry and just given anybody a job without giving people the proper training and the etiquette. If you want to go be a computer specialist at IBM, you have to go through coding training and this training. Or if you want to be a mechanic, you have to be on this level of training and have this certifications and blah, blah, blah. Our industry has stopped holding people accountable. The thing it is that, and there's the other side of this is that maybe we're not as educated about what etiquette and service is. Being from a service mindset from the military, and you yourself, we can understand this, that we understand what it means to serve, but there's a different side of service where we want to continue to serve, but a lot of people are broken about what service is. Service is selfless. You're not there for yourself. You're there for whomever you're there for. And, a lot of people who go into the hospitality industry think that it's going to be this super huge, I meet so many young chefs and they go, oh, I want to be a next top chef or Food Network star this. And I'm like, all right, cool. Well, that's awesome. I was like, I graduated culinary school. That's great. So did I, but I've also been in, cooking since I was 8 years old. This is not, it's not rocket science, but it's about who you know, backed by what you know, and what you're willing to do to go get that dream. A problem with us is that we have taken the etiquette out of service, the professionalism out of service, We allow for service standards to be at a low. We don't provide proper training, proper education, but we also don't provide proper pay. My programs, we demand a minimum of $14.50 an hour for our line cooks with no experience. Because why? We're in an industry that people need to be paid. Now, it's hard work, it's good work, but it's work that's passionate, it's artistic, and it can get you all over this world through opportunity. But what you put into it's what you get out of it. And a lot of people give up because they don't believe in hard work. They don't understand the passion and purpose that goes into how hard work. And these are things that, I feel like we have to, and let me see, he's commenting here. I'm going to see. He said 12 to owners, quick buck. If they invest in people, they would make long-term money. Exactly. And here's the thing, we've gotten away from investing in people. Here's the thing. Most people are not in business for other people. They're in business for themselves. And we talked about that at the very beginning. If you open up a restaurant that gives back to the community and gives back to the people that is employing, you're going to see something different. And a lot of people don't, this is gets back to the whole social media eye and why businesses, restaurants close. I mean, yeah, you got to have good food, but if you don't have good people cooking good food and you can taste attitude in food. I tell people all the time, I can tell you when your cook's having a bad day because I can taste it. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, that sauce is scorched. There's too much acid here, not enough salt. I tell people underseasoned food it's not a lack of palate because we all can taste. It's a lack of give a damn, which is an attitude problem because they don't care. And that's the thing is we're hiring people into jobs that are not passionate about the job. It is a stepping stone to something else in their life. And it's not something they're passionate about. And if you look at this, and here's where the other side is, and is educating people about the process of where food comes from. We've become gluttonous to the fact that we can open a bag and have French fries. If you had to peel the potatoes, if you had to cut potatoes, if you had to harvest potatoes, if you had to plant potatoes, you would value that French fry on a whole nother level. Your experience would go through the roof. And this is what we teach in Vet to Chef is this experience. Like understand where something comes from before you see where it can go. And your value and the way you respect it is going to be different. Even where you eat will change when you actually start to admire the process. Because, as we teach in Vet to Chef, it's about food from the start to the finish, but there is really no finish. There's a reciprocation of of taking care of something and going through a experience gives you back to you in your life. You're learning, you're educating, and you're growing yourself through that whole process too. And I noticed that a lot of restaurants, and there's this new push, and I don't know what to call it. It's not local, it's not global. It's an educated experience. And I'm realizing that people more and more now are going, where does this come from? But who grew it? And how long does it take? And can I pick it myself? Because we've gotten away from that. And I could speak all day about this piece of inadequacy in our world, just because people have stopped valuing the process to create. And creativity is now on social media and taking photos and paint. I mean, I think it's amazing, but human creativity is what allows us to think and grow and separates us from primates, So oh yeah, and I am sorry, Norm, you're right. I'm a big Jocko Willing fan. So I don't believe there's bad teams, I only believe there's bad leaders. And that's a very Marine Corps motto too, is that if you have bad leadership, you're going to have an impact to the team, of course. And the thing is that, being and here's where it gets hard, and especially in the hospitality industry, is being a subordinate to a bad leader, because you actually take on a secondary command within the leadership role. And I've had this happen where we've had sous chefs who were mistreating everybody. I was a chef de partie, and all these junior cooks were coming to me because I was a better leader. I didn't have more knowledge. I just respected them more. And that's where it comes down. And a lot of people, like I said, they're not there because they care. They're there because they want to make money. There's a job.
Now, do you believe it's important that people create, not only the business plans for their business, but also other key strategies for themselves and their business?
Oh man, let me tell you, um, I having a business plan is great. It is, I preach. There's so many things, man. Whew. So having a life plan on top of a business plan and how you're going to adapt and how you're going to grow yourself is just as important. Here's the thing: if you don't continue to educate and grow yourself, you're going to become dead as that business will. And then if you lose that business, you're losing yourself. I mean, there has to be enough of personal investment and for your human psyche, your emotion. I do. What don't I do? Let's see. And here's the thing. I've had to do something in the last year that I've never done before, which is budget my time. Okay, not my money, my time. Because and a lot of people don't understand what that means. They're like, oh, you mean do things at certain times? Yes, but I'm talking about at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm up and I'm meditating and I'm clearing my mind for the day. And my second piece is I'm going right into a 10-minute, empowering video about how to get things done. And so, my mind's clear. Now I'm empowering it. I don't even pick up my phone. A lot of people's first actions in the morning is pick up my phone. Who texts me? What's going on? What's going on? Facebook this, bad news that, blah, blah, blah. I don't put anything on my plate like that. I clear my mind, set my day up for purpose and be purpose driven and to have execution and have a plan of action. And then, it's, making your bed. It's, going through small routines. It's being thankful, saying a prayer or two if you're religious, thanking God for your existence and your path and your purpose, petting your dog. I don't care. But you have to budget your life the way you would budget your business. Because if you don't, you're going to come up short when you need capital to reinvest. Because let me tell you, that well in life, it gets really dry sometimes because you don't feel supported all the time. You don't feel like you matter. You don't feel like you have the support. People let you down all the time. And then here's a problem is that we typically want to blame those people for letting us down. Yet we should already know where they stand in our lives and that we shouldn't expect any more from them than from what we're willing to give them ourselves. People are like, well, I'll give them the shirt off my back. And I'm sure they would too. But it's your business. They don't have to do anything for you. It's your dream, not theirs. And you need to understand that. And you have to take that life well. I mean, I work out, I run, I eat pretty healthy. I practice. I literally practice not saying negative things because this is super important. Super important. Put your mind right, and that will change everything.
Yeah, like what Norman was saying here, that the part of the change he'd like to make in the industry, teaching the younger kids to invest in themselves, passing that down to family or subordinates.
Yeah. Well, that just goes back to going back to homeschool. Teaching in the home. That's where we make the break. We get away from cell phones and PlayStation and Xbox, and we reinvest. And I don't want to say parents have become lazy, but maybe they have. My dad actually took the power pack from me for our power cord, so I couldn't play games. He made me go out in the woods and get dirty. He made me go find bugs. He made me chase snakes and go fishing. We've gotten in a world, and also, and I hate to say this, social media drives a lot of our parenting roles. Like, I was whipped when I deserved it. I got thumped in the head when I deserved it. I mean, that's called growing up. But guess what? Because of these things, I've done right as an adult. And the thing is that if we want to start to impact kids, and I would agree with this. One of my biggest things is eventually we're going to break into kids, but I want to break into kids where they come from places in the world where they don't think they can do better. And we have a lot of like rural areas in this area who people understand food on a whole new level. We have some. I come from Southern food, and some of the best Southern food is down the best dirt roads in the world because these people are just cooking. But And we think that, impacting rural areas and providing jobs and opportunities through these kids who are in these rural areas, or these kind of, I guess you can say less than popular areas of, Section 8 homes and stuff like that, where they could be more and earn a passion in a trade. These are all people who need opportunity, and they need a different vision. And I think that it's important that we give that track of opportunity. And culinary is an amazing opportunity for that. I mean, I mean, culinary has taken me around the world, and I come from dirt roads and swamps. I mean,
Yeah, here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, there's also been a push for the food desert correction, to where they're having community gardens and people are growing what they put on the table.
Yep.
Is that something that's not part of your bigger plan?
Yep. Right now we have our own farm, and we're in the middle of Sarasota, Florida, with this farm. And it's funny is that I do something. It's kind of bad. I'm probably gonna let the goose. I call it guerrilla gardening, and it's kind of like guerrilla warfare. And what I do is I like to take seeds, and all these sidewalk gardens that you can see popping up. I like to just plant good seeds, good food. I mean, people are going to reap these benefits. Go to these areas where people are not expecting for tomatoes to grow, and put out eight or 10 tomato plants. Start to feed mines. Show them that there doesn't have to be a giant piece of land with a million plants for you to survive. Show them where food can come from, and that can come from right in front of them. We do hydroponics, is what we just started with our farm. And hydroponics is a kind of a new piece. Well, one thing we're running out of is land. And, what do you do when you run out of land? Well, you got to figure out how to grow something somewhere. So we've gone into a hydroponic approach because why? We really feel that that's going to be the future of gardening, because, a lot of land is being used. It's not being redeveloped properly. It's not being, I guess you can say, remineralized, put the vitamins put back in the ground that are necessary, because we don't have the proper crop rotation. And so we're completely looking at the fact that if we wanted to put a garden on top of a parking garage that's been abandoned, we can do that. If we wanted to gut a building and tear out the walls and open up all the windows and put a garden inside this building, we can do that. There's nothing that can stop us. It's really about being innovative and seeing the opportunity and creating and showing people that there doesn't have to be this. We love to bring kids out. I put several gardens in several schools. I've been part of the Michelle Obama Chefs Move to School programs. Redeveloping kids, showing people where food comes from, what food is. I mean, I just did a simple dish of ratatouille, and these kids had never seen a zucchini. And so, we scoff at that because it's such a common thing. But when you deal with kids who go through, secondary schools that are, and I hate to say that, I don't like to use it, but I get school. To me, the school system is still very much sectioned off, and it's not by color or race, but it's by money. And that those with the bigger money get the better schools, the better food, and I've seen that. And so I don't want to. I believe that that's kind of an imbalance where we start to train and educate kids of all natures, all school levels, through whether you have money or you don't have money, provide the same meal throughout. Same nutritional value, same everything. You're going to see some changes in the world. But so I believe gardening is one of our big pieces. We have 6 acres right now, working on going to eventually move into 100 plus acres. But we're going to get into husbandry. We're going to get into chickens. We're going to get into cows eventually, aquaponics with fish, and all these other things. Just because we see a value with the veteran population and community where they love to work, but they want to be led by other vets and having a reason to serve again. I think one of my greatest attributes to being in the military was understanding what it meant to serve. But one of my greatest failures is coming out looking to serve again and not finding that same community I wanted to serve in.
Sure. Yeah, that in fact touches on a question that I'll ask just shortly about your transition. You were mentioning as far as helping the veterans, though, just kind of a comment here is there in fact in our area here in Dallas is a nonprofit that does what they call dirt therapy, and it's the veterans coming in and helping work the garden, and it's just giving value and also some of the therapy and the treatment, helping with the PTSD, just getting them back.
Yeah.
So
it's huge. Well, it's funny is that we've been working with your Texas Veteran Commission. We're trying to bring vet to chef, vet to baker, vet to brew, and the new gardening aspect model there. Getting dirty is part of the process. I mean, this is what when I was in the Marine Corps, this is one of my greatest things in the world is that I love going and playing war and going to the pit and doing PT with these guys. I mean, this was great times. And what we've realized is that with what Vet to Chef, Baker, Brew, and the new agro program are doing, is that we're not just cooking or growing something. We're giving people a place to have a purpose again, and to get away from this mindset of I have to go to a VFW and have a beer, or I have to go do this, or I got to find myself at a bar. We've got to kind of refocus, who we are and what we're going to do when we find a place within the world. But we have to give our brothers and sisters that place to be. And that's the thing is that we are, veterans, we understand each other on such a different level. But what we have to do is be willing to get out there and reconnect. One of the biggest things I found is that, and I love it and I hate it at the same time. So many veteran organizations out there doing so many great things, but we're out there trying to raise the flag by ourselves again. That's not how the Marine Corps, the Army, the Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard works. We do it together, we can make a bigger impact. I mean, there's 20-some million of us right now. And we have to realize is that there's not going to be one person doing things any better than the other. But if we cohesively come back together and lead again, we have some leaders in the industries in the business world. Dan Allerick from Grunt Style, Elijah Crane from Bottle Breacher, Matt Griff from Combat Flip Flops. All these, Eric Mitchell of Lifelit Media. All these guys who are leaders, Carlos Romero, Vespreneur. I mean, I can go on and on and on. We have to reunite, and we have to come back. And then I'm not talking about get together and have a bonfire. I'm talking about, get back to that Lance Corporal underground of it's about who you know, backed by what you know. And because when I was a corpsman, everybody loved knowing me. I get SIQ. I want to know the armor so I get some extra rounds for the pistol range or the rifle range, or I wanted to be able to go shoot the freaking 50 cal. I don't know. The thing it is that if we get back to that mindset and we open that door again, the things that we can do, because we've already accomplished one of the greatest things in the world that most people will not do, and that is serve. We bring that mindset, that confidence back to the civilian world and link back up with our brothers and sisters that are leaders. I can't imagine what we could change for the veteran community.
Sure. Since we're kind of talking on this, I'll jump in on my order of questions. To hit that one about the transition, what hurdles did you have to personally face when transitioning? Like the camaraderie hurdle, and then when going into entrepreneurship, how'd you overcome that?
Oh my goodness, dude! I hope we have a list like this long. I mean, it's crazy. Cool. Oh my goodness, it's funny. Is it funny? I don't know. I didn't realize, and I didn't figure this out till a couple years ago, and it's crazy. Is being a combat vet, I thought when I left the war in Iraq that I left war, in reality is I had not even yet begun to fight the war, because transitioning back into the civilian world is a war. It's a new front, it's a new fight, and the fight is greater than I could ever even imagine, and it's not going to change. And in fact, it's not going to change so much that TAPS is not going to change. I mean, I've had many talks with higher ups from the military, and they said their job is not to train people to be civilians, but to be combat effective. and that's it. And they said they'll never ever veer from that mission, which means that we will always have a transitional problem, no matter what.
Mhm.
Now that we've, as a community, have been able to identify that transition is a problem, and there's a big difference here. And I'm going to say this, and I hope somebody who listens to this actually starts to figure out that transition happens the minute you take off your uniform and you put on civilian clothes. That's transition. That's it. After that, it's reintegration. There's no more transition. I hate to hear this word about transition. Transition is bullshit. It's reintegration. Because the thing is for X amount of years, your mind has been programmed to walk like a duck, talk like a duck, waddle like a whatever. You are a duck. And then they want to take the duck and put it around a bunch of geese. And they're like, now go be a goose. And you're like, why the fuck am I supposed to do this? It takes time. And that's the problem, is that we have not aligned. Yeah, sure, GI Bill and college fund and blah, 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 and transitional resume, blah, blah, blah. Look, you can put gold on a turd. It's just a gold turd. That's it.
Right.
Underneath, it still needs to be worked from the inside out. And we have to reteach veterans about identity. I don't know what your rank was in the military. The only thing I knew myself as when I got out was HM3 FMF Jacobs.
Mhm.
That's it. That's who I identified as. There's nobody else. I get out and they go, hey, Bryan. I'm like, who the fuck is Bryan?
Yeah.
I don't. Oh, I guess that's me. No clue who that dude is. No clue what he likes. No clue what he wants to be. No clue what he thinks he has to do. Nothing. And so, when I figured out that I had no clue who Bryan was, that's when my life changed. When I stopped looking at the person that I used to be and started trying to look forward of like who Bryan should become, then that's where my life changed. I went from getting out of the Marine Corps. I got back from Iraq November 5th and was out in the Marine Corps by November 12th. I was back home 7 days before I transitioned out. And, it was crazy. There is no desensitization. And that's the thing. Well, nobody thinks beyond their enlistment because they all have jobs lined up and the grass is greener on the other side. And I keep telling people, when you get out, you're looking, oh my God, yeah, I'm going to be this and that. But they fail to look down. And when you don't look down, you fall into the biggest giant pothole you've ever fallen into. And it's hard to get out of that hole. My hole was different than others. I became homeless due to a lot of my own, it was all my own fault. I had no plan. I was kind of winging shit because I was so used to being a part of society that didn't let me fail. And that's what, the military does that for us. And that's what the hindrance really comes into, is there's no failure in the military. So we don't understand what it means to fail yet because we never have. And so when you get out of the military and you start to fail, you lose control because you've never had that emotion. You've never felt that. So that has completely changes how you act as a person. And now all the things you've been doing is failing, where all these other college kids, they've been doing nothing but fuck it up. So it's completely – that's why they have a jump on us, because they've been living life. They have no organization, no structure. But then on the backside of things, we have bigger and more bolder opportunities because we can handle emotion. We can handle problems. We can get things done. We can make stuff happen. We can lead without having to even know we're leading. So – but it's, it's when I identified that transition is no longer transition, it's all about reintegration. And I started to put in perspective what I want my life to be versus what it is. And this is what we teach the veterans in vet success. I'll hold up a lemon at the very beginning of class and ask people, what do you see? And everybody will say, well, I see a lemon. Okay, well, now ask me, what do you see? A lemon. Okay. Try again. It's a fruit. Okay, we're getting better. What do you see? It's citrus. Okay, you're getting better. Finally, after I pound them and I make them try to think and turn on this brain, because the problem is everybody in our lives, we get up, we look in the mirror. That's all we see too. We don't see a successful person. We don't see owning this, this house, or owning this piece, or having this amazing relationship. You have to see these things to have them. And it's the same thing. And so finally someone goes, well, what do you see, chef? And I said, I see a sorbet. I see a finish to a sauce. I see a garnish. I see, a gremolata. And what I try to explain to them is, don't see it for what it is. See it for what it will become. And that's how we have to start to teach people about their identity. Because all these people who are lost, they're displaced, they're suicidal, they don't have their heads right. They're only seeing their lives for what they are. They're not seeing their lives for what they can become. And so that's reintegration. That's not transition.
That's an excellent answer there. So what do you think the most common reason is that entrepreneurs are failing or giving up? Especially our
I would say it's there's two different styles. Something when I was overseas in France, it was kind of cool because everybody had a project. And what was amazing about it is that everybody had this amazing idea, and they were empowered to go change the world. And they all had something they had to do. But what they lacked was the steps and the action to make it happen. What I tell people, especially in Vet to Chef, is or Vet to Success in general, is that unless you start to put the map together of the road that you're going to go down, and realize that you have to have a plan of action. It's not a business plan. This is just a plan of action on top of a business plan, on top of a personal life plan. And then you realize how much work actually goes into this. Then you're not going to realize the process you have to go through, because you're going to change so many things, either about yourself or about what you're going to accomplish. And here's the thing. Entrepreneurs, it's a sexy thing right now. And it's a sad thing, because let me tell you, it's lonely. And lonely is not sexy typically, because you think so different. You go to bed different. You don't go out and party with your friends like you think you should. You're not the guy balling down the street. I've been at Vets of Success here now for our second year non-prophecy. We had 2 years prior to that as just programs, just trying to prove the points that we could do what we're doing. And it's been a lonely road. And there's so many people have come in and out of my life, and it's been hell sometimes. And every day you're like, am I doing the right thing? Is this where I should be? Is this my path? Is this my purpose? And people don't get the support. And this is where being a veteran, I guess, maybe makes that difference. Is I know that I've done one of the greatest things in this world, and is served this country. And so it's been, when I look at where I've been, I look at all the things I'm going to do and go, I did that. So this should be nothing. But it's the work involved that really kind of changes the mindset, not having a plan to follow. A lot of people are winging entrepreneurship, and it's not the way you do it. Running to meeting and meeting this person and networking, that's not entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurs make money. And that's at the end of the day, you're in business to do what you love what you do, change people's lives, and then hopefully you can turn a dollar to live on. That's entrepreneurship.
So what compelled you to become a chef and in turn then an instructor?
Oh my goodness. I had one of the greatest gifts in life, and I had a grandfather that for some reason goes, let's go, you're getting in the kitchen. And that was 8 years old. And I often tell people, as most people were out there making mud pies, I was making open face roast beef sandwiches. I was a very hefty child because my grandfather was German. He was a World War II chef, and everything had brown gravy on it. So you can imagine, my plates, and understanding what is cookery, and understanding what is I don't know, where food came from. He had such a respect of food, and he was like, every morning it was hot chocolate, and I had hot chocolate cornflakes, and he had his coffee, and it was just what are we going to make for dinner tonight? I don't know. And it's like, well, do you want to do seafood? Do you want to do beef, pork, lamb? And I'm like, let's do some seafood. Well, what do you want to do with it? Well, what do you want to get? He was like, I was like, well, let's go get some blue crabs and do like a blue crab boil. Okay, well, we're not going to go buy them. We got to go catch them. Oh, okay. So we had to go catch our blue crabs. And we got to feed a family of 8 people, and each person eats 5 crabs. So we need, 40 crabs. Like, I was doing all these things at 8 years old because, this was like how I was being picked and trained. And he's like, well, we need bay leaves and we need this. And we may need some onions. Oh, okay. Well, I'll go pull onions out back, and we need potatoes. I'll grab some potatoes too. And so, because we had a small garden, and so I say small, but it was all big. But and so I was doing all these things that just came natural to me. It just felt right. Of course, I love to paint. I love to draw. Like I had a creative side. Love Legos, which I believe really greatly influenced my creativity. Love Lego, and it was one of these things. Food chose me, and I didn't realize why it chose me, but I knew that when it did, it chose me for a reason. When I went in the military, I tried to, actually go become a cook, and they told me I scored too high on the ASVAB, which I felt bad about because I was like, okay, well, it's something I love. So like, no, we want you to be a Navy corpsman. And I was like, all right, we'll see how this works out. Hot nurses, young doctors is what sold me, and then ended up in the middle of the desert with a bunch of Marines. So go figure, that's catch 22. Bah. But even when I was in Iraq, I carried 2 books with me, William Sonoma books. One was all about soups and stews. Another one was how to make pasta. And I would read these books to take me back out of Iraq and to give me a little, I don't know, just a peace of mind of love. And even when I got out of the military, I cooked a lot, but I didn't realize that it was something that I really wanted to do at the time. And it was a piece where I was literally sitting, I was homeless. I was in my car on a bench. I was on a bench actually outside my car, and a voice, out of nowhere just said, son, you better get your life together because no one else will for you. And something sprung me to action. And I said, well, I'm going to do something I love. And I love to cook. And I didn't know how or when or what, but I was going to go to school for it. I didn't realize I didn't have to go to school for it, but something about it, I just wanted to do it. I tried to go to CIA. That wasn't really, the money wasn't there for that school. So, I mean, $50,000 for, a year of school was wow. And it was not something, and I was like, it's in New York, I'm in Virginia. And so I went down to Culinary Institute of Virginia, and I walk in, and I'll never forget this lady. She said, she goes, if you think you're here to be the next Food Network star or something like that, then you better think again. And I'm like, and here's the thing, I had been homeless. I had really not really watched a whole lot of cooking TV because I just didn't have it. And I was like, what's a Food Network star? No clue. And but what was amazing is because I cared about what I did so much and put so much effort into it, I got to know a lot of Food Network stars. I've met Paula Deen and Emeril Lagasse and Fabio Viviani and Robert Irvine and all kinds of guys and people that are in this Food Network realm. And it's because I've put a lot of effort into becoming an amazing chef. And I never took any other road except for the best road. I went and worked for one of the top 50 chefs right out of school. And I said, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it at this level, at this professionalism and this quality and this etiquette. And I'm not going to allow myself to be at this standard and be like, oh, it's just okay. Because people want you to be here because why? They can pay you for that too. And that's the problem. If I'm here, I can hold them to a standard, and that's my value now. I figured out my worth in food, and I only worked with the best. I only worked with those who matter. And then after that chef, I went and worked for one of only 74 master chefs in the world, Peter Timmons, an amazing chef, taught me so much about food. After that, I became a private chef for the Anheuser-Busch family. Yet again, another level. And then I was offered an opportunity to travel to France to get a double master's from the Institut Paul Bocuse in Lyon, France. Yet another level. And during this time period is when I lost my brother, and this is when I say food chose me. because had food not chosen me, I wouldn't have been here probably, because we both suffered from the same issues. Both went to Iraq together. Both did the invasion together. He went back in '04. I went back in '05. And it was not it wasn't pretty by any means. It was every day being bombed and shot at and blah, blah. No. But when shit happened, and it was horrible. And knowing that I was chosen or anointed in this life to take a passionate outlet, to give those another passionate outlet, was something pretty amazing. So how did you go from homeless to school? Hey, what's funny is all these things that we suffer as veterans, we don't ask for help. I was one of those veterans who goes, I don't need help. I can figure it out on my own, blah, blah, blah. And I went to the VA, actually. Mm-hmm. I said, I need help. And I got out of this attitude of trying to do things by myself. And then I went and found friends that I had made through the gym or made through other pieces and said, hey, do you have an extra room or a couch? And they were like, yeah, I didn't know you needed a place to stay. And I've realized that when I asked for support, I wasn't used to it. I was just used to being supported. And there's this thing that we were waiting for people to support us versus going out there and asking for support. Here's the difference. I mean, if you have something to bring to the table and you're giving somebody just as much as you're receiving, there's a balance there. If you're just taking, obviously, that's not good. But anytime I went and stayed with somebody or was with somebody, I helped them tremendously. I would walk their dogs, or I would vacuum their house, or I would, cook dinner. I would do something. And what it was crazy is that when I got out of the military, I couldn't find a medical job. Here I'm a level 3 trauma technician in the Marine Corps, seen, combat, had more combat, trauma training than most doctors in the world right now. And I couldn't get a job. And the job I got was $9 an hour as a phlebotomist. And I was blown. I was doing medical transcription and phlebotomy. And two things were the last things on my list I'd ever thought I would do. And I was a personal trainer and I was a bouncer. The personal training was kind of hard because I couldn't diet, so I was kind of a hefty personal trainer. So my clientele was diminished, obviously. So it was, but it gave me a place to go get showers. It gave me a place to get cleaned up. The gym was open from 5 a.m. to midnight. So, and then I didn't have to spend long in my car or long in someplace hidden, But going back to where I am now, is that I realized what food did for me, and that seeing the kind of decimated veteran population we have, not just homeless, we have displaced brothers and sisters, and this displacement is what truly transitions into homelessness, because you have no idea who you are, and not even just our veteran brothers and sisters, but their spouses as well. There's a whole different world on the outside when you transition it, even as a spouse. And right. You don't realize that now you have to get a job, and now you have to get skills, because one income doesn't pay the bills anymore. And there is no more of this hanging out and, taking care of the family, because that's a huge job and role, but it takes 2.5 incomes to live in this world some places. And unfortunately, we can't pay housewives for doing all the great work, or house husbands for all the great work they do. They have to have skill sets and jobs as well. And, but it comes from balance and having a little bit of identity in who you are, and kind of the biggest thing that pushed me is that, realizing that what I'm doing is way bigger than myself. Right. And that it's not about me, it's about my brothers and sisters. And that's really kind of what has continued to drive me to do what we were doing. And it was one of these things where I said, hey, I want to make a change. Let's do it.
So where do you go to get your best ideas? Is that kind of like at the gym or taking walks?
I carry a book with me. I carry a book and a pen everywhere I go. You can pull inspiration from anything in life and any place in life. Just a week ago, I had this thing. It was a sausage roll, which is nothing more than a stromboli. But I'm like, shit, I haven't had a stromboli in years, but I haven't had a good one at all in forever. Yet I'm thinking we're starting a food truck, and I'm like, you know, what if I did something that was along this lines? It was quick, as easy, as fast, as powered. It's a pizza wrapped up in a pocket. All these little things. And what's my crowd? What's my niche? I mean, I can develop business ideas in minutes, and from the simplest of things. And I was like, if I did this, I cut it into 6 pieces or 4 pieces, and I served it. We could turn this revenue, and now we go outside. We sit outside bars and stuff when they close. Here we could access thousands of dollars instantly, and do all our prep, get our mise en place. I mean, I draw inspiration from driving down the road, to hearing about other industrial ideas. And here's the thing, I don't just stick in my industry. I stick to tech. I stick to fashion. I stick to, anything you can be empowered by. Huge, medicine right now is huge with technology. The people, we're starting to be able to understand what food does to the body. Part of my background was in cellular biology when I went and got my bachelor's to understand how we digest food. And I'm like, to me, this is one of the next big trends coming is we're going to see how blood type dieting and all these other things actually affect the body. And so I can pull in from anything, and then I listen. That's the biggest thing people don't do is they don't listen. I sit in a room of people and I listen to all these things, but I listen and I write down what they say. And then I go back and I reflect on it and I go, is this something I can implement? Is this something doable? And then I don't try to do it by myself. I hear what people are trying to do. How can we partner? How can we redevelop the idea and go and make it better?
Yep. So in winding up our time today, because we're right at our cutoff period, and I want to give you a chance to get back to all that you're doing. The final question, which is one of my favorites, especially for Marines. It's kind of tailored for you. If you're to be a new color of crayon, what color would that be, and how would you describe its flavor?
Jeez, that's a good one. Hey, Marines, you are what you eat, right? Man, it's funny is, wow, that is a great question. New color of crayon. What flavor would I be? Oh man, I would.
I've never had a chef, so it's kind of fun.
Yeah, this is a good one because I'm thinking like, how do I want to taste, and like what would I want to be bitter at first and then sweet on the end, or like would I have some high acid to me? Like, what do I need going on here? You got my chef brain going on because I was like, now I want to go do it. Now I want to go do an edible crayon. Now that's what you just did. You just did that to me. So that's cool. How I think. So yeah.
I have to name it after the program then.
Yeah, I could do that. I call it the Daniel Snow Crayon. We call that. I would. It's funny is I don't know if there could be. I want to be one of those crayons. I don't know. Because this is how I think about me when I get old. Is I want to be remembered by smell, right? And not personal, but the way I make a house smell. Maybe I would be a chicken noodle soup crayon, because there's just something about it that. So it would be I'd be multicolored, and so it would be I would be a little orange, a little white, a little green, and it would be pieces, and each piece would have kind of a significance, because each ingredient you have in your life has significance, and each significant ingredient goes into that pot of chicken noodle soup. It has such a significance, and if you put it at the right time, it's amazing. You put it at the wrong time, it's bad, right? And if you don't have the best, it's not that. And so I would like to probably be the chicken noodle soup of crayons, where people go, wow, that was fantastic, or I can't wait to have that again, or it makes me feel better. Because that's kind of how I want to be remembered in people's lives, is that I'm able to make their lives better.
That was a good answer there. Yeah, probably better than most of the Marines give. So I like your answer.
I mean, they're probably like, I just like being red. Like red.
Red or green.
Yeah, it makes the grass grow.
Yep, so it makes the grass grow.
Yep.
No, buddy. I appreciate you coming on. Before we come off, though, I want to give you a chance to tell people how to get a hold of you.
Awesome.
How to
Appreciate
reach
it.
out and touch base.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. We are vets2success.org. We are at 501c3 here in Sarasota, Florida, and making some headway in 2019. We have, vet to chef, vet to baker, vet to brew, vet to agro coming soon. And you can find us at vets2success. That's VETS number 2 success.org. Facebook, Instagram. I tweet every now and again, and just follow us, share us. When you share what we're doing, you're not sharing it for me. You're sharing it for the lives of those veterans who need support from the others, brothers and sisters. And you can see some lives change. We have 7 veterans right now in Vet to Chef. We have a rowing team with the crew, first ever boat crew team for veterans here in the Sarasota area. We're hoping to get in a national platform and start to do regattas, worlds, Olympics, you name it. We're with our Freedom Rose program, other great organizations on here, SRQ Vets. Just great people doing great things. We have so many great opportunities down here in Sarasota, Florida. Vet Success is growing. We're going to be launching in the Tampa, St. Pete area early 2019. Dallas-Fort Worth is on our radar. Nashville, Tennessee is on the radar. Orlando, Jacksonville. So we are definitely coming to a city near you within the future.
Excellent. We look forward to seeing you out here.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the time.
And thanks for coming on the program. It's been a pleasure and honor having you here.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for your service, obviously.
And thank you for yours. And thank you for doing what you're doing.
Keep in touch.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. And Norman, thanks for all the questions. Great questions. And, if anybody needs to reach out to me, it's Bryan at VETS number 2 success.org. Feel free to email me. Alejandro, he's a great guy you should introduce. He's got a great platform. I love what he's doing with spices. I'm doing some things with his spices all the time. Just made some mushroom pickles the other day. He was one of the chilies he did. Amazing pickles now. So, but great people, great veterans leading. Oh, dude, we can do some good stuff. I'm going to work on that crayon idea because now I'm like, what if I did a box of crayons? Now, that's where my mind went, but I did it as a salad. The box of crayons was a salad.
It sounds interesting. Look forward to it.
I'm going to do it. So, awesome. Well, Dan, thanks so much. And great work. Thank you for what you do.
No, see you around the bend, my friend.
All right. Take care now.
You've been listening to Legacy Cast. Thank you for joining us today, and be sure to come back next time as we speak with more top influencers, industry experts, and business owners from around the world.